So John is also a very important person. In fact, I'm the least important person in the room today, which is, English humor, very unusual. Only joking. John is from Storj. Storj, by the way, is the world's biggest distributed cloud store. His company did a $30 million token offering, and today they store on individual hard drives from their participants more than 100 petabytes of data. If Filecoin is an idea, this is an actual company. John.
Thank you very much.
Give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Is this mic on? Yeah, okay, can you hear me? Okay, great. So it's interesting, I spent a lot of time in this building as a child. My father worked at Silicon Graphics, so both this building as well as the Googleplex were part of Silicon Graphics. Silicon Graphics made boxes, and they did things like with those image rendering services. People built things like the Boeing 777. Pixar did CGI with them, and lots of cool other projects. It was a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. Eventually, though, it was totally commoditized, and so people with commoditized boxes with specialized software were able to take Silicon Graphics market share. So one of the early learnings running around here as a 10-year-old playing video games with all the employees was that commoditized hardware and specialized software is going to beat specialized hardware. So part of what we're trying to do at Storj is create a software solution to our hardware problem. And what we're addressing is a distributed cloud storage network. And so it started with a question: can we create the largest and most secure cloud storage network without operating a data center? And from that, we kind of looked around, and there's other companies that have created very large marketplaces of massive scale without owning the underlying infrastructure. For instance, Uber is the largest taxi company in the world, doesn't own any cars. Skype's the largest telecommunications company in the world without owning any telecom systems. And the one that kind of made the most sense to us was Airbnb, where Airbnb is the largest hospitality company in the world and doesn't own any hotels. So we thought, wow, there's a lot of excess storage capacity globally. There's lots of disk drives. Is there a way for us to put that into a marketplace and create the world's largest and most secure data storage network? So it started in 2014, and my co-founder, Sean Wilkinson, wrote a white paper that basically detailed how we might do that using a lot of the principles Mr. Zhang mentioned. And from that experience, we went and built version 1 of the network in 2016, and then we eventually launched the network in 2017, concurrent with a $30 million token sale. Currently, we're in the process of refining version 2 into version 3, and version 3 is basically built to scale to the exabyte range. And to put it into perspective, Google, Microsoft, Amazon are working in the kind of hundreds of exabytes. The total amount of global storage capacity is measured in the tens of zettabytes. So we were able to scale from terabytes, and now we're over 100 petabytes with no investment whatsoever in our physical infrastructure. So similar to the way that Airbnb has grown quite larger than Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton combined, we hope to grow bigger than Amazon, Google, Microsoft without owning our own network. So from that, have we been successful? Well, right now, we are in 180 countries, storing over 100 petabytes of data. So we can safely say we are the largest decentralized cloud storage provider. We're not the largest, period. But so if we're able to, 1,000x our performance over the next year or two, we will be the largest. With respect to the mathematics behind security, I think, math is, instead of having physical security where you have a big data center and lots of security around it, and have iris scans and passwords, we're securing all the data mathematically in ways that are cryptographically sound with digital signatures and utilizing Reed-Solomon erasure encoding. So not only are we encrypting the data end to end, but we're also sharding the data and distributing it across thousands of nodes, so that even if you had the encryption keys and were able to essentially decrypt the file, you would still have to find it across our network, which is over 180 countries. So how do we measure success? We basically are trying to partner with large players that have already aggregated a lot of developer mindshare, and then we are a data layer for them. So a good analogy is like Dropbox was built on top of Amazon S3. We're not Dropbox. We're more like the S3 data layer that people can use as an infrastructure for their projects. One of the projects I'm most proud of is FileZilla, which is a very large open source project. It's an FTP client, which has been downloaded, I think, 600 million times. And so it's a ubiquitous tool used by developers, and we are the default storage solution for them. And we do a revenue share with them. And we actually help FileZilla as an open source project become more financially sustainable. One of the other projects I really like, and along the same lines as Mr. Zhang's talk on healthcare, is Doc.ai, which is approaching the same problem that Vivo is. So that it's a big market. We feel like there's data breaches frequently. So clearly it's not working as well as it could. So like basically our solution is basically private by design and secure by default. So because the data is encrypted and sharded across thousands of nodes, and we never have the encryption keys, we cannot spy on our customers. So it's inherently more secure. And if you build applications that are using a data layer that uses end-to-end encryption and sharding, basically those applications are inherently more secure than today. And a lot of the healthcare concept that Mr. Zhang mentioned was basically how each individual can own their own data. And that is very, I would say, core to our mission at Storj, and enabling applications to help people do that. So we are, probably some of you have seen Steve Ballmer's speech where he talks about Microsoft and wanting developers. So that's clearly our focus. We're a developer tool, and we're competing on price and value. So we're currently about a third the cost of S3 because, quite frankly, we don't have to build $600 million data centers in order to store data. And we're competing, and then we're at the edge of the network in over 180 countries. So S3 has perhaps 20 data centers globally. We have over 150,000 nodes globally. And then so that enables us to have a certain advantage in terms of performance because peer-to-peer networks are very well suited for delivering content. So what are some of our achievements so far in terms of traction? We have over 75,000 API users, basically storing over 100 petabytes of data. And our community is pretty rich. We have about 17,000 people on our equivalent of Slack. It's called Rocket Chat. It's an open source version of that. And those users are pushing about 240 million transactions a month. So we're operating at scale, and we're at the kind of 100 petabyte range now, and we're pushing into the exabyte range. I would think over the next 12 to 18 months. So what would great success mean for us? We'll know that we're doing well when we're in a ubiquitous data layer, so that all these distributed applications are using us as their data layer. We will have viral growth, partially from a referral program, a two-sided referral program, but also through our token. We had over 17,000 participants in our token sale last year for a $30 million offering, and we've seen massive increases on both the supply and demand side of our marketplace based on token ownership. And so I think token sales, I think, are primarily viewed as a capital formation tool, but I think that it's often overlooked the massive network effects they can have on marketplaces. We would like our farmers, of people that are storing our data, to be low turnover. We would like to have more successful partners like FileZilla and Doc.ai. We would like our trolls to be quiet. Every crypto community, I think, suffers from trolls, but we try to keep them as quiet as possible and keep all of our developers as happy as possible as well. So that's when we'll know that we've kind of gotten there, but our vision is much greater than that. Today, we're operating kind of in the archival space, and we're pushing up into the S3 space. Eventually, I would say that we'll launch our S3 level performance in probably by August, September this month, or this year. And then following that, we will be pushing into GDPR, basically the geo-fencing of data and making sure that the data stays within geographic borders and maintains the data privacy laws of those local jurisdictions. And then eventually, we're going to push into CDN. And you can see here that the unit economics on a price per gigabyte basis increased by 45 times. So not only are we going to increase the overall size of our network, but we're going to increase the absolute value of the network massively by just increasing our use cases. And how do you do that? Basically, it's a question of, with 150,000 nodes, we need to be 150 million nodes. And so that's the vision for us, to basically have that density of nodes. And then it becomes, whether a farmer is good for archival or CDN becomes a question of their reputation. So do they have a good availability? Do they have good bandwidth? And then if they do, perhaps they're are they in a specific geographic location, which makes them well suited for delivering content? In that case, they would be a great, basically CDN farmer. If they didn't have great uptime, then perhaps they're better suited for archival. And this, at the end of the day, becomes a massive machine learning problem. And so much to my father's point of basically having commoditized hardware and specialized software, we're applying machine learning and basically software development and quick turns to basically improve our network, which we think will create a very long-standing sustainable advantage against the incumbents of Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. And that's it. Thank you very much.